You a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight we are recapping the week's nerdy news from Jakku to Fawcett City and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve Howler. What's up, Steve?
Well, a mix of a lot of things and no James Gunn announcement yet. So the thing we were all waiting for this week is still up in the air.
We're still waiting. And he's still saying that it's going to happen in January. So, I mean, I got Twitter open on my phone right now, and I'm going to be refreshing it the entire time that we are recording this podcast, just in case. It seems like, I mean, yeah, sure, he lives in California, so they're like 4 hours behind us. But right where I am, I feel like you want the East Coast to hear about your announcement. So it seems like you wouldn't announce it at, past 10 o'clock at night on East Coast time.
One would not think so, but dumber things have happened.
Yep.
We've had stranger breaking news in the middle of the podcast.
That's also true, but that's largely been negative, I feel like.
True. I don't think the 9 p.m. news dump slot is really the creme de la creme.
I think the one exception being when the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer dropped during some football game or something, and we paused recording to watch it and then came back to finish the recording. That was a positive thing. But like Bob Chapek getting fired, that was, that's positive. Negative for him, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So yeah, we're going to talk about James Gunn a little bit later, but assumedly we're going to have a lot more of James Gunn and his plans for the DCU to talk about next week, since there's only 2 more full days of January left, and he has promised information in January. So it's either going to happen tomorrow or it's going to happen Tuesday. And we got a few days to think about it and theorize, and we'll be back next week to talk all about it. But until then, we got other DC stuff to talk about.
Yeah, well, we have other DC stuff to talk about, but also you don't know it yet, but if anyone was listening on the pod, you heard quite the intro.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was the intro that we were going with tonight or not. So yes, I should address the intro. The intro music is a cover of our normal theme song called Short for a Stormtrooper, written by me. This was a cover of that by our dear friend Brandon Hall, who listens to the podcast and texted me this week saying that every time the theme song starts playing, he sings his own version of it, his own lyrics to it, and sent me a copy. And I immediately said, "Can we use this on an episode?" And he said, "Sure." So shout out to Brandon Hall for singing along with us every week. If you have your own version of our theme song, feel free to send us a copy of it, and we will use it as the intro to an episode. If you want to do your own cover of it, whatever you got, send it along. So thanks, Brandon. Now moving into our first DC trailer, one of 2 that we'll be talking about this week. This is the second trailer for Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the second Shazam movie coming out March 17th. A sequel to Shazam, one of my favorite DC movies, certainly one of my favorite DC EU movies. It's up there for me with The Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman. I love it. Steve, you still have not seen the original Shazam, is that correct?
Still have not seen it to this day. However, after watching this trailer, I kind of want to.
Okay, great. I was going to ask you, I was going to throw it to you first because I have seen it, and my feelings for the first movie are informing my feelings for the next one, as they would for any situation like this. You do not have a connection really to this character really at all. I mean, I know you know who he is from general comic knowledge, but you don't really have a connection to the character or the world or whatever. So what are your thoughts on the second trailer for Shazam! Fury of the Gods?
Yeah, I know we had talked about the teaser or the whatever the first
trailer,
first option was there. After the first one, I was mildly intrigued, but it also, it seemed like, they're giving the group the whole, but like everybody's getting their powers, and it is what it is. Team up movie, lose their powers, got to find some way to fix things, blah blah blah. standard formulaic response. Then I also saw Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren as the bad guys, and it was like, oh, okay, interest is piqued. Then in the real trailer, they combine all those things and add in dragons, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting more intrigued. Yeah, no, it seems like from between the praises that you've sung of the first one and watching this, I think I definitely want to, reassess whether or not, or
Yeah, you want to get caught up.
yeah, exactly. Like I definitely would like to see the first one, and then this does seem to be grabbing me as the quote unquote neutral in the equation here.
Again, the first one, if you haven't seen it, is great. It's definitely worth your time. It's a lot of fun. It's like, I told my wife when I saw it in the theater, and then when I showed it to my wife, she was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll watch it with you." And I was like, I was like, "Really, brace yourself. This is an emotional roller coaster of a movie." She goes, "Yeah, whatever. It's a superhero movie." And she cried, made her cry. She was laughing out loud and crying at this movie. The first Shazam is a super mix of, it's like a great superhero movie. It's also like a family drama. It's also it's very funny, and it's also scary. There's like legit scary parts in it. So I usually equate it to like Goonies or something, like a movie that has a lot of, it's like an adventure with it, but there's kids and there's a lot of different, like, it's fun, but it's scary and it's intense at the same time. And like Goonies, I love the movie Shazam. If I had seen Shazam when I was like 10, it would be the greatest movie of all time for me, like hands down, because like it's about a kid that turns into a superhero. That's what I want, blah, blah, blah. But because of all those things, it's also a very intimate story. It's very much about Billy Batson, the kid who turns into Shazam, gets granted the powers of the wizard Shazam. It's very much about him and his quest to find a family, families that he's rejected in the past, his struggle to like fit in with people, and about his life and what he's been going through, which is part of what makes that movie great, because you really connect to him as a character and the struggles that he's going through. Watching this trailer for Shazam 2, or the Shazam Fear of the Gods, I gotta say it looks good, but I'm a little nervous that they went too big, that they got too far away from an intimate family relationship, family dynamic, and that they're going too big, too much spectacle, and it's gonna be too spectacle heavy and not enough character character like stuff to keep me like attached. Right. So I think it looks good. I also think they showed, for me, like a little too much. I feel like I understand the entire plot of this movie. Like,
yeah, I could get that a little, where I don't want to say beat for beat, but they show a lot.
Yeah, like, I mean, spoilers for the first Shazam movie, the kids that do get their powers seemingly are going to be losing them, and that's kind of like, well, they just got their powers, so you're just like figuring out a way to take them back, take them away, like, why? And then I don't know, I just I mean, I still try. It's the same creative team, same director, same writer, David F. Sandberg, from like the Annabelle movies. He's a horror director, which is why the scares in the first Shazam look so good. And I gotta say, the creature design in these trailers look great too. Like, the cool thing about Shazam is that he's magic. His powers come from magic, or magic / gods at the same time. So it's kind of a mix.
Fury of the wizard gods.
Yeah, exactly. But he fights like magic creatures, so it makes sense that he's fighting dragons and weird winged lions and things like that. So like that's something that you don't really get in like a Superman movie,
right,
or something like that. So I think it looks really great.
Like, at the same
I'll
time,
be interested to
weird.
see.
Like he's granted powers by a wizard, but somehow magically looks exactly like Superman with a lightning bolt instead of like Heimdall from Thor or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they ever give a reason as to why he doesn't look just like a wizard. Like, right. He gets the powers of the wizard Shazam. Why does he look like a superhero, not like the wizard Shazam?
Right. Because Superman was hot when they.
Yes. Yeah.
when he became a character.
Little known fact: at the time he was called Captain Marvel, but after Captain Marvel debuted, he was the most popular Superman superhero for years. He outsold every other hero, Superman, including Batman. Like, he just was, I think it was pre-Marvel days, but he was outselling every other like DC hero, which is why I think DC bought the company. It was like it wasn't DC that was originally making Captain Marvel books. It was like somewhere that's like the DC like acquired, and I think that was why, because he was outselling them. So he's a very popular character.
How many different Captain Marvels have there been at this point? Between Marvel and DC, I mean, there's probably
on the DC side, one.
Right.
DC's got one. Marvel's got 4.
Yeah, 4 sounds right.
Yeah.
You got That
Marvel,
right.
Marvel.
Yep.
There's some other weird spelling, I think, of one. I don't know.
And then even in the in the modern Captain Marvel end of things too, Photon was also Captain Marvel for a while.
Yep.
So yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah, you just use the name for whatever. It's a utility. Just go to the bullpen and grab a name. Oh, Captain Marvel again. Sounds good.
You're Captain Marvel now. Yeah. Anyway, I think this looks good. I'm interested to see if there's any like twists and turns that they kept out of the trailer. I hope that there is. There's one shot where his suit looks all like black. It's almost like looks like Black Adam.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Which is his main bad guy, which, I mean, I blame The Rock for this, but it's insane that he's not in this movie or that Shazam wasn't in Black Adam. Mm-hmm. Insane. I saw something on Twitter going back and forth about like saying what I just said. Like, it's wild that these two characters, that we've got two movies for Shazam, one Black Adam movie, and we're never going to see the two of them meet ever. Now that we know that things are getting rebooted and retooled or whatever. And someone responded and said, why does everything have to connect? Not everything has to be like a connection. And I agree with that. I don't think everything has to connect. But at the same time, this is Shazam and his main bad guy, so it's weird that it's made by the same studio in the same universal continuity, so it's weird that there's no connection at all. Yeah.
That would be, Spidey and making a Spider-Man movie, making a Craven movie, and somehow never having them go back and forth.
Right, but have them both be in the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be more like Green Goblin or something, but I
exactly.
had to get the Craven dig in there after whatever's going to happen later this year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see this year. Shazam: Fear of the Gods comes out March 17th. Hopefully, within the next 2 days, we will know whether or not Zachary Levi and the cast of those movies are going to be continuing on as Shazam and the Marvel family.
Zachary Levi,
because like sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the trailer, like, as someone who hasn't seen the first one, Zachary Levi does a very good job of an adult playing a kid playing an adult.
Yes. Yep.
It seemed that definitely hit home for me. I was like,
yes,
he's acting that way because he's actually a kid.
Yeah, and he's very well cast.
Yep.
It's a little, it doesn't quite fully line up because the kid version of him like isn't quite as goofy as he is as Shazam. He's more like I'm a loner, and when he was Shazam, he's like cracking jokes and stuff, so it's like a little doesn't make sense, but it's also like, who cares?
Right.
I get it. This is what it's supposed to be. Anyway, that's Shazam, Fear of the Gods. You can check out that trailer on YouTube or wherever right now. I'm sure it's in movie theaters attached to whatever at the same time. And moving on to the next trailer we got this week for a DC thing, not a movie, but something I'm very excited about. Trailer for Harley Quinn, a very problematic Valentine's Day special. And they announced this months ago. We reported that they were making a Valentine's Day special, which they're calling very problematic. The trailer, you can see why they're calling it very problematic. It has a lot to do with sex and spells and things like that. Spells that make people want to have sex and cause them to. So I can see where that could be some problematic territory. This trailer, I'll go first on this one, Steve. I think this trailer looks hilarious, and I cannot wait to watch this when it debuts on HBO Max on the 9th of February. So coming up a couple weeks.
But
Steve, again, as somebody that...
You literally watched my reaction to this trailer.
I was watching you watch it, yeah.
So I watched this right before the show in the pre-roll, and Mike was on, and I didn't realize it, but I'm sitting here staring at my screen, and he's watching me. And I can distinctly remember cracking up at least 3 or 4 times in just the trailer. And it's it looks really fun.
Great. I was going to ask again because, again, as someone who you have not watched Harley Quinn, or have you watched little or none?
Nope.
None. Yeah.
So Harley Quinn is one of those where like it's been on the top or near the top of the list to tackle, but I know if I go in, I'm going all in. So I have to like hold myself back until I know I have the time to handle it.
Yeah. Well, sell it to your wife too, because my wife watches it with me and she loves it. It's hilarious. It's very feminist. It's very appealing to. It's not just for like comic book dudes or comic book nerds. It's
and I think this may actually be this might be able to be the thing that cracks because my wife doesn't do well with animation.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So, like anything that's been animated, even if she would like it, it's a very hard bridge for her.
It's a turn off immediately.
Yeah. So I think maybe this humor is right up her alley too. So it's like
I think so too.
Yeah. We should be able to crack something here.
Awesome. It seems to be the show. I guess I don't know if I feel how comfortable I feel describing the
there's a lot of very uncomfortable things.
Yeah, it seems that I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Harley Quinn season 1 and 2, but as should be, as is in the comic books, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are a couple by the end of season 2 and into season 3. So this very problematic Valentine's Day special seems to revolve around Harley Harley gives Poison Ivy an orgasm that is so good that it causes her to release some kind of weird plant pheromone that infects all of Gotham City with some kind of love sex spell. And it looks really funny. Seemingly has a subplot about Bane going to Etrigan the Demon to get some kind of superhero Viagra or something that seems... I don't know. It seems insane and very in line with Harley Quinn stuff. So, hey, maybe this is your entry point. If you haven't watched any episode of Harley Quinn so far, I'm sure that you could start here, and maybe this is going to be the way you dive into the series. I highly recommend it. I encourage it. It just won a Critics' Choice Award for Best Animated Television Program. So there you go. There you go. Speaking of great television shows, but ones that will not be winning any Critics' Choice Awards, unfortunately, moving forward. We heard this rumor last week and talked about it, but it is now official that Doom Patrol and Titans will be ending after their 4th seasons have been aired fully. Both shows aired part 1 of season 4, and they're taking a little bit of a break right now. Season part 4B or whatever they're calling it. Will be airing, I don't know, sometime soon, maybe this month. I don't even know if there's a release date for the second half of both those seasons, but that will be the end of them. And as we've said a million times, 4 seasons of any show, pretty great run, especially one as weird as Doom Patrol. And also, knowing what was going on at HBO Max, they're canceling shows, they're trying to save money. These two seemed like they were definitely on the chopping block. Titans probably more than Doom Patrol. I think Doom Patrol, it's not like House of the Dragon or Last of Us or whatever, but like Doom Patrol, I think was a higher rated show in views and also like critically than Titans. So I felt like if one of them was going to go, it would have been Titans. But at the same time, if one of them's going to go, knowing that they're trying to clean house and get ready for whatever James Gunn is going to do, probably both of them are going to go. And somebody, as James Gunn continues to do on Twitter, responds to things, clears up rumors, straightens things out. Somebody was commenting on, of course, Doom Patrol and Titans got canceled because of the James Gunn thing. And he responded saying, "The decision to end the series precedes us, but I certainly wish the best for the talented group of creators, actors, and the rest of the crew that produced both shows." I think then somebody responded to that saying like, "But if you like these shows, can't you just decide to keep them going?" He's like, "Well, that's not how TV works. Like, I can't just snap my fingers and make a TV show go on indefinitely if nobody's watching it." You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm sure there's a possibility, although probably slim, I would think that, some of the, Brendan Fraser could keep voicing Robot Man or whatever if James Gunn wants that to happen. But, he can't keep a show on the air indefinitely. So even though it appears to be they were seemingly canceled prior to him even taking this job, which I think we heard a rumor that was going to happen
Right,
after
a
they
while
canceled
ago, I think
Batgirl.
we had
Yeah.
heard that. So
once they started everything, so
yeah, and it seems like the cast did as well with the quote from Mark Sheppard that you found.
Yes, Mark Sheppard, who plays Willoughby, what's his face?
Kipling,
I don't know. He's like the what's that?
Is it Kipling?
Yes, Willoughby Kipling. He's like a lesser John Constantine. I feel like
I can see that.
If they probably would have used John Constantine if they could, and I feel like Warner Brothers is probably like, nah, you can't use Constantine, but you can use this guy, because he does pretty much everything Constantine does. But he's an actual character from the comics, so it's not like they just made him up. Anyway, the guy that plays Kipling, Matthew Sheppard, said
Mark Sheppard.
Genuinely, what's that?
Mark Sheppard.
Oh, sorry, Mark Sheppard said, genuinely, I do know that Jeremy, he's talking about Jeremy Carver, the showrunner of Doom Patrol, was prepared for this. So the end of Doom Patrol Season 4B, second half of Season 4, is really good. It's really good as an ending. So that's good. That's good to know. Even though the show's canceled, they kind of knew it was coming, wrote it into the show, so it's not going to end on like a cliffhanger or something that'll leave fans frustrated. It'll hopefully wrap up as much weirdness as they can wrap up. I don't know if that's the same for Titans, but Titans not as good of a show as Doom Patrol, so I'm less invested, I gotta say. So yeah, that's that. As far as Doom Patrol, so long Doom Patrol. It's wild that we got 4 seasons of the weirdest show I've ever seen in my entire life.
I will concur that is the weirdest show I've ever seen in my entire life, and it was glorious.
Yep, definitely worth checking out. Even though it's canceled, I know sometimes when a show gets canceled, people don't want to even bother starting to watch it. But hey, 4 seasons. The seasons are like 10, 12 episodes maybe, and apparently, according to Mark Sheppard, it's got a good ending. So why not? You can binge it now. It's going to be on HBO Max. You can binge off 4 seasons. Do it. Doom Patrol. Speaking of, we got one more. Well, it's not even really a story. Just the DC Slate James Gunn stuff. Might as well
some more prognostications, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. We know we've talked a lot about James Gunn and his plans for the DCU a lot in the last couple of weeks, but there's nothing else really to talk about, and this is a big deal. So of course we're going to talk about it. No new news on Twitter, by the way. I just refreshed just to make sure. So yeah, like I said earlier, we know that within the next 2 days, we're going to get something. We're going to get some information on what the DCU is going to look like moving forward. Sorry, my headphones are being weird here. And what I'm hoping for, I hope tomorrow we get some kind of announcement of like a, tune in to whatever live stream at noon on the 31st.
Right.
And this is, I want it to be, again, I've said a million times, I don't want it to be just a tweet. Give me more than just like a list of things or like a thread on Twitter. Like I want something. Like I would love some kind of presentation.
Well, we've talked about how in the past every other major, the MCU does it. Feige gets up there and does his spiel. Kathleen Kennedy gets up there for Star Wars stuff. Like make it an event. Like make it must-see TV, and people will see it and build the hype. Yeah.
Like I know they canceled they're not doing that DC Fandom anymore, which is such a bummer because it was so great, but like how crazy would it be if they still did a Fandom? Right. And we're like, we're not going to do it in October this year. We're going to do it in January or early February because we're going to blow your mind with all these crazy announcements that we have from James Gunn. Like that would still be amazing. It's
look at the hype every year that comes out of D23, that comes out of Celebration,
Comic-Con. Yeah, exactly. I know.
Like,
and I'm sure I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure part of the reason that we're only getting part of their plan, one is because it's probable that some of the characters that we're going to see in movies this year aren't moving forward. Possibly Ezra Miller, possibly Jason Momoa, possibly Zachary Levi or Shazam. We don't really know. Possibly Miguel, can't remember the last name of the Blue Beetle actor. But I think it's also possible that they're still, I mean, it's still early days. He's only had this job for 3 months, so they're still like developing stuff. They're still signing contracts. They're still dealing stuff. I'm sure we're going to get more stuff at Comic-Con this summer. Like, I bet we're going to get a little bit now, a little bit at Comic-Con, and then a bunch more after, like, either The Flash is out or after Aquaman is out. And so, like, the final non-James Gunn DC stuff is all out. Now they can finally be like, okay, now we're moving forward. Here's your new Aquaman. Here's your new Flash. Here, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyway, all that aside, I did want to read one thing. There was one tweet today. I follow Congressman Robert Garcia, who's a congressman from California. There's no reason that I would follow him other than he's a huge comics nerd and tweets about it. It's a fun one. Talked about a while ago. He got sworn in to Congress. He got sworn in on a copy of Superman #1 from the Library of Congress. He tweeted earlier today, if James Gunn doesn't present the new DCU plan by February 1st, I'm calling him in for a congressional hearing where I will ask the tough questions everyone wants to know. James Gunn quote tweeted that with a little shocked face emoji, and he and Robert Garcia responded saying, "Sir, the American people deserve answers." And then James Gunn responded to that and said, "And answers they will receive." So they're still coming. We're going to get them pretty soon. But right now, Steve and I are going to talk about our predictions for what we think we're going to hear from James Gunn either tomorrow or on the 31st. And this is based on really nothing maybe just like feelings, maybe things that we want, but things like we're trying to predict what we think we are going to hear him talk about
right
when we get this news, when we get this information.
Right. And Mike will maybe have some sort of, scientific wild ass guess. Mine is a complete swag. It's just whatever popped into my brain. So. Okay.
Well, I don't know. This might be yours, but I feel like you and I both probably agree on the fact that we are going to hear something about Superman in some way. We already know that he's writing that movie.
Right. And
we've heard million reports that Warner Brothers wants Superman to move forward. So I can't imagine the first words out of his mouth being anything other than, here's what we're doing with Superman.
Right. It's either going to be the first thing or the last thing in the press conference. They're either going to bury the lead completely or it's going to be like, hey, we know you want this. Here it is. Yeah.
It's either the opener or it's the closer. One of those two things. I think whatever's going to be like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be, there's going to be something that's at least one thing I feel like is going to be surprising. That's my guess.
Yeah, probably.
And also my hope.
I mean, the second to that is probably confirming Reeves' Batman, like the sequel.
That's true. I feel like they already did that, though.
I don't know if they did post Gunn taking over, did they?
I think they, they confirmed that he's not using Robert Pattinson in his version. So
yeah, either way.
I don't know because you're right. I mean, he is technically. I mean, he's leaving Matt Reeves alone, but he is part of that at some, on some executive level. He is shepherding that. He's just leaving them alone, and letting them do whatever they want. So you're right. We could get an update on that for sure. So what else did you have? I'll let you go first. As far as what's your first prediction here for James Gunn's announcement?
First prediction is that he's going to right one of the prior wrongs of the DCU, redoing some semblance of a Green Lantern movie.
Yep. Okay, that's one of mine too. That's one of my predictions. Is that we're gonna get a Green Lantern announcement in some way.
I mean, the last one was long enough ago and bad enough that they need to redo something. And I think since it's a character that's been done wrong, I got a hunch Gunn would be like, no, we're gonna fix this.
Yeah, like he fixed Suicide Squad.
Right.
Yeah. I agree with you, and that was going to be the first thing that I went with as well. I think we're going to get a Green Lantern, and even though I know that we just, a few months ago, you'll remember, Steve, we talked about how this long gestating Green Lantern series that was being developed for HBO Max, it was announced that that's going like back to square one, back to the drawing board. And I can't remember if that predated James Gunn taking over. I think it did.
Might have, yeah.
But I really think like they're trying to do that. Like James Gunn has said, we're telling one big story over movies and TV and games and animation and all this stuff. We're telling one big story. If there is a property that can handle movies and TV shows going at the same time, it is Green Lantern, because it's space, it's wild, and there's 1,000 Green Lanterns that you can talk about. You can have Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart in the movies. You can have Alan Scott, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Boz, whoever else, like Gnort the Squirrel.
I was going to say literal aliens, like whoever
there's
you
one,
want, make something.
Yeah. Yes, there's thousands of weird-ass Green Lanterns
Squirrel
that
may actually be the Green Lantern we get, because this is James Gunn we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure. I feel like he will, because it's like he's got space experience with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like he could definitely do a great Green Lantern, even if he's just the producer of it or he just writes it or whatever. Like, he could do definitely a great Green Lantern film, and there's plenty of material for a series to like boost that, like they're doing with like the Penguin to boost the Batman, Matt Reeves Batman stuff,
or
so
Peacemaker with Suicide Squad.
Yes, so I 100% agree that we're going to get a Green Lantern prediction for sure.
All right, now that I've stolen your number one, what's your number two?
My number two is that I think we're going to get a Green Arrow announcement of some kind.
All right.
And this is based on nothing other than the fact that DC, we're going to talk about it in a little bit when we get to comics. DC is doing this big Dawn of DC event where they're kind of like not reintroducing characters, but kind of like giving new number ones to characters that either haven't had their own series in a while or are bringing them back in like a big kind of spotlight kind of way. And I can't 100% say that they're doing it, because they did announce when we talked about it months ago, whenever they announced the Dawn of DC thing, they only announced part of the slate of those comics. And we're talking about, they announced a few more this past week. Mm-hmm. One of the things they announced originally was a new Green Arrow series. And so that kind of got me thinking. I was like, okay, they're kind of doing this like big prestige event with Green Arrow. There was like 7 or 8 seasons of a Green Arrow TV show that was really popular for a while. Like this is a character that is in people's minds. You know, he was even in like the Justice League Unlimited show. So if people watch that series, like they're familiar with that character. This is a character that has enough familiarity to draw an audience and is different enough from Superman or Green Lantern or Batman even. Like similar to Batman because there's vigilante stuff involved there, but he's also got a lot of supporting characters. He's got like an Arrow family and a lot of stuff that you can kind of build from there. So I'm going to guess that we're going to get a Green Arrow announcement as well.
Fair enough.
Thoughts?
It seems to fit. I mean, right now the only Green Arrow anything that's been out in recent parlance has been the WB show, right?
Yeah, I mean that the character was also in Smallville, I think, also. So like there's been enough, like, I mean, besides he had his own TV show for a long time, I feel like there's been enough other hints and droplets of like, oh yeah, I know who that character is. I saw him in Smallville. Or, oh yeah, that guy from Justice League Unlimited or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Smallville, I never realized that it didn't dawn on me that Hawk from Titans, Alan Rickman's very different.
Not Rickman, not Alan Rickman.
Whatever his name is, was Arthur Curry in Smallville.
You're right. He was. Yeah. There was like one episode where there was an Aquaman. You're right.
And it was him.
Oh man. I remember. I didn't watch a ton of Smallville, but I remember watching that episode because I heard Aquaman was going to be in it, and I wanted to see like the team up, and I was like, okay, this is fun. But
so that brings me to my second prediction was that we will figure out what the Momoa and company issue is, if Momoa is coming back as Lobo and they're recasting Arthur Curry, or what's going on. And if they do recast Arthur Curry, that'll be a much more traditional, maybe not the milquetoast Arthur Curry of the Silver Age, but like a more combo. Not just like jacked half Thor looking Momoa. Yeah.
There's a version of Aquaman for a while where he had like longer hair and a beard, but he also had like he was missing a hand, and he had like a harpoon for a hand.
Okay, that'd be they should have done that with Momoa.
It's just pretty badass. I gotta say, I was like, that'd be cool. That'd be cool to see that. Also, for a while, he had like a magic water hand. I think he was like a
Oh.
hand made of magic water that he could like control. Kind of. I like that less.
Right.
I'll take a hook hand.
And a hand made
Like
of
a
water
Captain Hook.
underwater seems very
Is strange, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah.
water-ception shit going on.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Especially if my guess is right. I think it was last week I talked about what I said. If Jason Momoa is going to play Lobo, then he's going to play Lobo in the Superman movie that James Gunn is writing.
Mhm.
And I think that makes sense. If they are going to talk about the Superman movie, then if Lobo's going to be in it, then yeah, it makes sense to be like, yes, the rumors are true. Especially because there's been I think you're right. I think we're going to find out about Momoa and Lobo, even though Aquaman isn't coming out, because there's been so much hype around those rumors, like of him being Lobo. Like that is out there. They can't possibly keep that, I think, under wraps for like another year. Like everyone's already thinking that he's going to jump and be Momoa's going to jump and be Lobo. So that'll be interesting. I agree with you. I think we're going to get some clarity around that for sure. I have one more.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any more, but I have one more. And this is based on, I started thinking of it, I mentioned it real quick last week as kind of like an aside. And then I read a comic this week that made me, made me like, ooh, are they doing this? I don't know. Like taking the cues from the comics is tough because comics are planned out so far in advance.
Yeah.
That like, the issue of Nightwing 100 that I read this past week definitely was planned out so long ago, probably before James Gunn took the job.
Yeah.
But it makes sense on a lot of different levels, similar to what I was saying about Green Arrow, in the consciousness, but never had his own movie. I think James Gunn is my prediction. I think we're going to get a Titans movie.
Okay.
Not a Teen Titans movie, not an R-rated gritty version of the Titans like for the show that doesn't really, part of the reason that Titans bugs me as a show is that I feel like it goes out of its way to have the characters not be wearing their costumes and not using their superpowers. And I think that's bullshit. And in a movie, you don't have to worry about that.
In the show, I'm
get
pretty sure Nightwing is the only one that's ever in his costume.
Yeah, and even so, sometimes he's just wearing like a jacket.
Right.
And like, I'm like, can't you just put your costume on? Like, come on. Like Starfire doesn't fly. It's just like there's so much stuff. Like, or they always like figure out a way to depower Superboy, throw some kryptonite at him real quick, so he like doesn't make sense that he wouldn't just be flying all the time. Anyway, I think because spoiler alert for Nightwing 100, and the DC universe in general. Currently in the DC universe, the comics universe, the Justice League has disbanded. They're like taking some time off, and they have asked Nightwing and the Titans to become the new premier superhero team of the DC universe while the Justice League is not around. So the Titans are going to be like running the show in DC land for a while, as far as like teams go and like universe saving threats.
It's just, it always amazes me how parallel these companies end up being. Because right now, Uncanny Avengers is coming back. It's like,
oh really?
Taking over for Avengers. So X-Men and Avengers being back together, and yeah, nice. So it's like, one switches something up, the other switches something up. Yeah.
So that's my other prediction, and again, that's based on nothing. I feel like it's based on. I think it would be a smart move. I think the quick thing that I said last week is that like I would love if they made a Teen Titans movie based on the characters on Teen Titans Go, so I could take my son to see it and he would be excited because he knows these characters. Because Teen Titans Go is a show that's been on for like 7 seasons. And even before that, there was like a different, more dramatic version of that show with those same characters. Like those characters, we've been watching those characters for a long time. You give us a live action movie with those characters and their full power sets, fully developed, and you got an audience ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go. You get the tone right, make it kind of funny, but also serious, like also dramatic. You're going to crush it. So, I don't know. Do you have anything else? Any other predictions?
Well, I was going to mention something about Nightwing, but that seems to have covered that.
Oh, no. What's your Nightwing?
Oh, no. I was just thinking we're either going to see a spinoff or a something like Titans coming to fruition, because it just seems to make sense. Like, we've hit, no offense to anyone else, we've hit Batman to death. We might as well start experimenting with the rest of the Bat family, especially when you have someone like James Gunn who likes to dive into the weeds. And the Bat family is
that could be true.
very weedy.
And that's one thing I don't think we're gonna get in the next couple of days is a Batman anything from him.
Right.
I feel like the Matt Reeves Pattinson thing, like, I don't think he wants to rock that boat quite yet. Like, I feel like we're gonna get more information on the Batman 2 and the Penguin and stuff. They're gonna let that come out first and then be like, okay, yes, this is solidified, it's still happening. Here's what our Batman's going to be and how they're going to interact. And I think that's going to be a different thing. So I don't think we're going to get Batman. I do think we're going to get clarification on Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I do think we're going to figure out if that's going to move forward, because there's too many people wondering about that. I guess that's my last prediction, is that we're going to get some clarity around that.
Gotcha.
As well.
So the only other thing that came to mind was, I really think James Gunn wants to dive into something like Mr. Miracle, but there's no chance he can without the setup. And so I don't think we're going to hear anything about that. But, like, because you can't go into scot-free without the background on Darkseid and the whole, like, everything else going on.
And we did know that they didn't want anyone using Darkseid or Fourth World characters after Zack Snyder's Justice League for a while, because they canceled that other movie. So, I think you're right.
I think he would love to play with a character like that, though. Like, that seems right in his wheelhouse.
I think you're right. Oh, and we didn't mention, like, that Strange Adventures, the Adam Strange thing, because that's something that James Gunn has tweeted about that he loved.
Really?
But again, that takes some setup, I think, to get there.
He
I don't
did
know.
mention Mr. Terrific too.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's possible that we'll get. I mean, this is like less of a stretch, but we'll get some clarification around, like, they announced that he was going to do like an Amanda Waller series, and we'll figure out if Peacemaker 2, when that's happening,
right?
Peacemaker season 2, or if we're going to get another Suicide Squad movie. You know, like, that's low hanging fruit right there. Like, we're going to do another Suicide Squad or a rat catcher movie or something, take a character from that movie and develop them in a series or something. So we shall see within the next 2 days sometime if we're right, if we're wrong. No matter what, I'll be pumped to talk about it, to finally talk about it as it exists, and not just theorizing and questioning and rumors and all that stuff. Like, give me some real stuff to talk about, and we'll be talking about it next week. Another big thing that happened this week, as we mentioned last week, it is award season, and we got the Oscar nominations this week with a good amount of nerdy stuff coming out for the Oscar nominations. And again, this isn't like a comic book adaptation. This isn't a space opera or whatever that we like to talk about.
No, but it's in the name of the podcast.
Yes, it is a multiverse movie, and I've seen this. Guys, it's so good. It's weird, it's crazy, it's wild, but it is rooted in such an amazing, emotional, personal, family, parental story. You gotta see it. You gotta see Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is so good. Steve, I'm talking to you. Watch it. It's so good.
Working on it.
And it is so good that it got 11 total Oscar nominations. The most nominations of any film this year went to Everything Everywhere All at Once, including Michele Yeoh for Best Lead Actress in a Motion Picture, Ki-Hye Kwan for Best Supporting Actor, Short Round himself, Jamie Lee Curtis for Best Supporting Actress, and Stephany Hsu for Best Supporting Actress. I hope Stephany Hsu wins it. She was incredible. It also got nominations for Best Editing, Best Score, Best Song, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture. So a lot of people are saying that it's too weird to win Best Picture. I don't know. They might be right, but I think I mentioned earlier, Shape of Water won Best Picture, and that's a woman falling in love with a fish man. So
fair.
You never know.
Speaking of fishmen, the next one up is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I was going to say Black Panda, which I haven't seen that movie, and I'm picturing Jack Black reprising a role playing Kung Fu Panda, but
Yeah.
in a Black Panther series. So Angela Bassett.
I would love a Black Panther Kung Fu Panda crossover. That would be excellent.
This is the thing we needed that we had no idea we needed.
Give me that in Marvel's What If season 2. That's
Oh,
what
that-
I want. I want What Ifs to
Sold.
start being insane crossovers with IP that Disney does not own.
Oh, that'd be
That's what I
amazing.
want.
Absolutely amazing. So the competition for Stephany Sue is Angela Bassett for her role as Queen Ramonda in Black Panther, which I have seen that movie, and I would say she is 100% deserving of the nod. So
I agree.
It's going to be
And this is notable that this is the first actor from a Marvel movie to be nominated for an Oscar.
Oh,
We've had like the film, like Black Panther itself was nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
It won for Best Score. There's been other like superhero movies,
VFX
movies
and that sort of
nominated
thing.
for things. I think
Right.
Logan got like a Best Screenplay or whatever, nomination or whatever. The Academy traditionally not been super kind to comic book adaptations, but I don't know, just notable that this is the first time an actor from a Marvel movie has been nominated for an Oscar. That's super cool.
the Academy seems to Scorsese the hell out of it, as far as their respect for any sort of nerd movie.
I mean, unless it's something like this, just transcendent, like Heath Ledger won for playing the Joker, or even Joaquin Phoenix won for playing the Joker.
Right.
So, and those performances are insanely good, and so is Angela Bassett. But I also understand that sometimes a great performance in a special effects laden CGI movie is different than a great performance in just like a personal drama or whatever. Like, it's just different. It hits different, and the movie hits people differently. So like, if you could be given the greatest performance of your life, but if it's a movie that just looks like schlocky CGI, then it's not going to stand out as much. You know what I mean? Like, I get that there's a difference in feel and tone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a very, very big difference between Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson being nominated for things for Marriage Story versus being nominated for Rise of Skywalker or Avengers.
Black Widow.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like, little bit different. Also, phenomenal movie if people haven't seen it. Marriage Story, go watch it.
Oh, Marriage Story is incredible. Both of them are insanely good in that movie. Yeah. Did you read the other?
What's that?
Did you read the other awards that's nominated for?
No, I was trying to, and then I had switched off my tab. But Black Panther is also nominated for costume design, best makeup and hairstyle, and best VFX because, well, go figure.
Yeah, because I feel like that was the movie that Marvel put the most time into the VFX on.
Right, and then the next movie that we're going to talk about came out.
Sure, that's Avatar: The Way of Water. Got a few nominations, including Best Picture. Wild. I haven't seen it, but I don't know. It just seems crazy that it's got Best Picture nom. I don't know. Best Visual Effects. That's
Which
a
I've heard
no-brainer.
it's
Best
going
Production
to pretty much
Design
win
and
because-
Sound.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, we were talking at the same time. What did you say?
Oh, I was going to say, it seems at this point that visual effects is pretty much just a slam dunk for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's other movies, other deserving movies that are nominated for it, but I can't imagine that anyone else is going to walk home with it. I feel like it would be probably an upset if anybody else did. Including a movie that I love, but I feel like, the visual effects in this movie were great, but if you're making an entire movie out of visual effects like the Avatar films, then that maybe should get maybe be more deserving. But The Batman also got a few nominations, including Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, and, of course, Best Makeup and Hairstyle. I'm pretty sure that is specifically for Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Yeah. Wait, Colin Farrell was in that movie?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you watch him in The Batman, and then you watch him in, like, The Banshees of Inisherin, and you're like, whoa, that's the same guy.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And he's also nominated for that movie as well, Best Actor. So anyway, those are your Oscar nominations. I don't even remember when the Oscars are happening. if any of those things we talked about win anything, we'll let you know.
We'll probably talk about them again.
Again, awards are subjective because art is whatever you want it to be. So awards are meaningless because art is subjective. That's what I meant to say. But the Oscars are something that I usually try to watch every year. I try to see all those movies just because I want to see good movies. But I don't necessarily.
See, I've tried to do that before, and then I find movies that I'm like, why in the hell am I watching this? Like,
Yeah, that happened to me a couple times last year. I was like,
and you're just like,
yeah.
It's one of those where I realize I don't get art sometimes.
Yeah.
Just really don't get it.
I don't like really. Okay, I'm not going to name the movie, but there was a movie that was nominated because I don't like punching down. Not that I'm punching down on an Academy Award nominated film.
Right.
And Mike Gibson is punching down on any big budget movie that's been made.
With our giant soapbox that we have.
Yeah. Just checking my ego here a little bit. But I don't necessarily like to spend time shitting on stuff, so I guess I won't say the name of the movie, but there's one movie that I watched last year because I was trying to watch all the Best Picture noms, and I was like, this is so and nothing is happening, and I get that it's well made, but I do not understand why this is nominated for Best Picture at all. But I said this online. I think I posted this to Twitter, but you can tell that you're a parent when you haven't seen all the Best Picture nominees, but you have seen all the Best Animated Feature nominees, which I have seen this year. Every single one of them.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. And they're all very good. So check out all the Best Animated Features. I don't have them in front of me, but, you can Google it. You can figure it out. Moving on, we got these aren't even really stories. They're just Steve and I just like talking about Star Wars. And, these weeks in January have been a little bit light on news. That hasn't stopped us from talking for over an hour for these. We were talking before the show, or realized where if it's a light week, if it's a heavy news week, we make sure that we're getting through everything really fast. So we talk really fast, we move really fast through to try to get everything in an hour and change. But when it's a slow week, we kind of lay back and we let ourselves take digressions. And this explanation I'm giving you right now is not necessary, but I'm just kind of saying it. So that's why we ended up last week talking for an hour and a half when it was a very, very slow week. But thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. I guess I'm just saying that. I'm prefacing that because we're about to talk about Star Wars, which usually leads Steve and I astray on this podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of notorious for sending us to a galaxy far, far away for a long time.
For real. So, anyway, Miss Daisy Ridley, Rey herself, commented she was doing an interview for a movie that she's in, and someone asked her about the changes to. Okay, spoilers for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. If you haven't seen Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, or Rise of Skywalker. Okay, she was asked about the changes, seemingly the changes that were made to Rey's parentage between the movies, where in The Last Jedi specified that her parents were nobody, and as we all know, in The Rise of Skywalker, that was retconned to have her be the granddaughter of Emperor Sheev Palpatine himself. She was asked how she felt about that, and if she had an opinion one way or the other, and she first said, well, JJ, meaning JJ Abrams, was the one who was like, she is of no one. So it wasn't just The Last Jedi where that was the message, which right there, that's a big shock for me, because I assumed when I saw Force Awakens, to me it was there's somebody JJ knows who her parents are, or someone knows who her parents are. And then in The Last Jedi, I was like, no, her parents are nobody. They're not worth talking about. After Force Awakens, do you remember after Force Awakens, there was all this oh, she's Luke's daughter and all this kind of stuff, right, which was way too obvious.
Obi-Wan's daughter and Luke's daughter and
she's a Kenobi or something and all these other stuff. But then for her to say that JJ was the one, what's that?
I said I would have taken that. That would also mean she was Satine's daughter too, which okay.
Yeah. I would have taken that she was a nobody, which is what was specified in The Last Jedi. And we all thought that was Rian Johnson doing his subverting of expectations that he loved to do in that movie so very much. Mm-hmm. But apparently it was JJ, according to Rey. She's not a real person. According to Daisy Ridley, it was JJ that said she was of no one. And then she went on to say, what was interesting about the last one, Rise of Skywalker, for me, was that you can be a hero and not come from anywhere, or You can be a hero and come from literally the worst person in the universe. You are not your parents. You're not your grandparents. You're not your bloodline, and you're not the generations before you. So I always was like, sure, it's beyond my pay grade, meaning like the decision to write those scripts and make the decision of who is related to who in Star Wars. She goes, it's beyond my pay grade. I say the words, I do the thing. I do love the version of you can be anyone you want to be, but I also love the version where you can rectify wrongs and can't help what you're born into. That's a really cool way to look at it, I think.
Now, at the
right.
same time, I've said the phrase, it's above my pay grade a lot, and that's never in a what happened was what should have actually happened type mode.
Exactly. I think she's making a very good point while also being very diplomatic at the same time.
Yeah.
I think. Which is smart for someone that probably wants to get some Lucasfilm money.
I was going to say, for someone that has
future.
multiple millions of dollars riding on this, yeah, you're going to play that card.
Yeah, exactly. She's going to try to thread the needle a little bit, which I think she does very well. And I that is a good argument. That is a good point. That like, I think the idea of Rey being connected to the Emperor and coming out and having the plot line be, it's okay even if you're related to this horrible person, you can still become a force for good. That is a compelling story. I think like so many complaints about The Rise of Skywalker, it is underdone by the fact that it was not set up at all in the previous two movies, much like the Emperor coming back was not set up at all in the previous two movies. So kind of
the fact that
nowhere.
The literal line was, and somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow,
like,
somehow.
Okay.
Somehow. But hey, like I've said a million times, if you can fully embrace that, hey, that's just what happened. Like Poe says that line, Rise of Skywalker, he doesn't know he doesn't know how the Emperor came back.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. So what else is he supposed to say? Like, that's just what happened. Guys, it's just what happened. Just accept it. The Emperor somehow came back. I don't know. Poe doesn't know either. He just said that line. It's a dumb line. I understand that it's a dumb line. But I also understand that that's just what happened.
Also,
Poe
for
just
the
heard
record,
the news.
I'm going to have to try and watch this a third time just to see if it
give
changes
it time.
anything.
Give it time. Think about it. Just like marinate on it. Think about it and be like, this is just what happened. It's just what happened.
Well, see,
I have
my
no control over
problem
that.
is like having read the EU, Palpatine returned in the EU. And they
really?
did it much, much better than this.
Oh, I can't
and
imagine
Luke
it was worse.
Luke was actually converted to the dark side during the whole thing and became Palpatine's apprentice.
Whoa.
And Leia brought him back, and it was like, it wasn't the arc was good, but it wasn't, A+, but it was much better than whatever the hell I threw out there.
Just think about it.
Yeah.
Just you gotta just meditate on it
and
just accept. That's just what happened. Like, hey, I wish that we didn't nominate and elect Donald Trump to president of the United States of America, but that's just what happened. Yeah. Somehow, Donald Trump became president. You know what I mean? Somehow, he's running again.
Yeah. Phrasing it like that. Okay. All right. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Not everything that happens
makes sense.
Makes sense. Not everything that happens is what you want to happen. That's just the way Star Wars is too, man.
Yeah, that's true. This is true.
Speaking of Star Wars things that aren't really stories, but we wanted to talk about Star Wars, The Skeleton Crew. Remember that show that we talked about? They announced and we haven't heard anything about it? No? Well, it has wrapped production. It is directed by John Watts and created by John Watts, writer, director. Did he write the Spider-Man? Excuse me. Did he write the Spider-Man movies? He directed them.
I think he might have. Maybe one? I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know. Well, let's say director. Director John Watts of the Spider-Man Home trilogy, MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, directed this show. It stars Jude Law and a bunch of teenagers, apparently. Jude Law is in it. However, he's not the main protagonist. These younger kids are. It's a coming-of-age story set in the style of an 80s, like, Spielberg, Amblin entertainment kind of thing, which I think is great. It fits very well with Star Wars vibe for me. So I'm down with this. And his wrap production is supposed to come out sometime this year. We don't know anything about it other than the details I just gave you, like literally no information. I think. Oh, besides,
we
it
know
takes place around the
timeline.
same time as Mandalorian,
Yeah.
like after Return of the Jedi,
Yep.
ish. So I feel like they got to be like building to some kind of big crossover, right? They're like Mandalorian, Boba Fett, the Ahsoka. That show's coming out this year, and this show. They're all kind of in the same time period, and they kind of did that with Boba Fett, I guess, because Mando showed up in that and was such a big part of it.
So I guess I'm gonna throw out a idea.
Hit me.
That this is where they find the Chiss.
The what?
So Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn
Yes,
from Rebels,
blue guy
is a Chiss.
Yes.
His species is the Chiss.
Oh, okay.
And they are
cool.
Their whole thing is like in the unknown regions. They're kind of one of the major forces and like holding things down. And I think this may be like them going out on this expedition to whatever and end up encountering the Chiss.
Of course, I knew all that. I was just asking on behalf of our listeners that may not know what you were talking about.
Fair. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Sure.
I feel
like
Ahsoka's going to go find, like, Ahsoka is definitely the search for, like, her and Sabine
Thrawn
finding
and
Thrawn and Ezra.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you set that up without having to have all the, backstory built into Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Throw it into this, have a fun romp with Jude Law and a bunch of teenagers, go find a new civilization.
I agree. I recently, because in gearing up for there's a bunch of stuff coming out this year that are things that make me want to rewatch the things that came before it. But I know I'm not going to have time to do all of that. Like a lot of those things are coming out in the summer. I'm not going to have time to watch all the Mission Impossible movies and also all the whatever else, the like Indiana Jones movies or whatever. So like I'm starting that now.
Yep.
And in prep for March 1st, Mandalorian season 3, I have rewatched the last few episodes of Mando season 2 and the last few episodes of Book of Boba Fett. And I got to say, the Mandalorian is such a good show.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. Book of Boba Fett was pretty bad. The Mandalorian stuff in Book of Boba Fett is great. Like, just like everyone says, this isn't, I'm not like dropping some like super hot take. The Mandalorian stuff in Book of Boba Fett is great. But like, just even in the last episode where it's like that big fight on Tatooine and like Mos Espa, so much of like, it doesn't make sense. The dialogue's terrible. Like, I don't know why they're like, did this whole thing where like, Kersantin is stationed here, and these kids on the bright colored scooters are over here. But then like, they all just end up in the same spot. Like, well, I thought why were they over there if they were just like, it just doesn't, so much of it doesn't make sense. But I just wanted to watch it so I could see like Mando and Grogu reunited and all that kind of stuff, and see like the Grogu with Luke training stuff, which is cool.
For some reason with that series, it seems like Robert Rodriguez channeled a little too much Spy Kids and not enough like Machete.
Yeah, and I know he was like more of a producer. He didn't like write and direct every episode. Yeah. I think if he had written and directed every episode, it would have been awesome. Yeah. Because, dude, the episode where Boba Fett gets his armor back of Mandalorian, is incredible. Yeah. Like, that is an awesome action scene. That is an awesome episode of television. So was the episode where we meet Ahsoka in the Mandalorian. That was the first one I started with, was the Ahsoka episode, and I was like, this is dope. It's so good. And then Book of Boba Fett is just such a big kind of letdown to get, like, we get him back in his armor and this like incredibly badass, I am just wrecking stormtroopers left and right. And now he gets the Mos Espa and he's like, I'm not a violent man anymore. And like, well, what? When did that turn happen, Boba?
Oh yeah. I still remember my reaction when Ahsoka showed up in live action.
Oh,
like
great.
You knew it was coming. But then it happened, and my wife's like, "What? Why are you so excited about this?" I'm like, "But the thing, it happened. It's there. She's there. She's real."
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, like in that Boba Fett episode where Grogu was training with Luke and Ahsoka is there, I'm just like, Ahsoka Tano is talking to Luke Skywalker right now.
Yeah.
What? What? It's crazy. It's also insane how much better the effects on Luke are in that Boba Fett show than in Mando season 2 finale. Like,
which is funny because when Mando season 2 dropped, that like blew our minds.
Oh yeah, and looking at it now, you're like, ooh, that's a little janky.
Right.
Like, there's definitely times
Compared
where it
to-
looks video gamey. You can tell he's like barely moving his head at all.
Yep.
But then like the Boba Fett one is, you can still tell, but
Yeah.
it's
It's a little
so
less
much better.
Uncanny Valley.
Honestly, the worst part of it in both of them for me is the delivery of the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, it just sounds so wooden. Like, I know they're like it's all computerized and they're all reproducing how like the voice sounds, and the voice, you're right, they're right, the voice sounds like Mark Hamill in 1985 or whatever, but the delivery of the lines is like so wooden and boring. Like, every line is like ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba da ba 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 ba. Like, yo, like real life Mark Hamill would put some juice into those lines.
He wanted to go to
like
Toshi's
a
station
real
to get some
actor
power
would
converters.
do a good job. Yeah. So I don't know. As much as I like looking at young Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, I feel like if you're gonna just recast, just find someone that looks like him and like recast. Like,
Yeah.
It would be an uproar. Some fans would hate it, but you know what? Like, you're not gonna be able to. You're never gonna be able to beat what a real actor could do with that dialogue. You know, just like. Not even Sebastian Stan. Just get like somebody that is a good actor that kind of looks like Mark Hamill and put a wig on him and like, yeah, it's Luke Skywalker.
The guy
like,
who was his
good.
body double in Mando
Yeah, get
season
the guy
2.
who's doing the body double. Exactly. Get
Like,
that guy.
His face looked like Mark Hamill.
I agree. Yes. Just get a real
yes,
actor.
Sebastian Stan may as well be his son, but
Yeah. But I would rather have Mark Hamill's blessing on a new actor playing young Luke Skywalker than just a wooden AI delivery of Luke Skywalker.
Right.
Like,
Well,
and
look
originally when I first got the AI, I was like, I love this. This is great. Make a series. I think I said it on this podcast. I was like, I want a Luke Skywalker series now that I know they can do this.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I would love a Luke Skywalker series, but just cast somebody else.
Right. I
And
mean, look at
just
Alden
make sure
Ehrenreich.
Hamill's okay with it.
It worked out for Alden Ehrenreich.
Yes. Well,
Well,
not
for
completely,
the
because
two
there's some
of
people
us.
that really hate that, but
Yeah.
I'm totally.
I was going
fine
to say,
with it.
for the two of us, it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
It works out every time they recast a Batman or a Joker. Like, yo, you can do it. Like, it's fine. Like, other studios have done it. It happens.
Wedge Antilles
Classic
is two
characters
different
get
people.
played by other people. Yeah.
So Here
Anyway,
we are.
I was shout out real quick while we're talking about Star Wars, talking about derailing and going too long. I started watching Clone Wars with my son, and I gotta say, maybe it's just watching it like through his eyes, but I was like, we're like 4 episodes in, maybe, and I'm like,
Yeah.
these are good. These aren't bad. Why did I not like these the first time? They're good.
Well,
I'm into it.
What does it start off with? It's the
Well,
originally it's the original 501st like Domino Squad, right? Right off the bat.
well, there's the first episode is like Yoda trying to get to
yeah.
a planet. Like Count Dooku and Yoda are both trying to like convince the ruler of some planet to side with them. I was like, that's pretty good. And we also watched the movie, which we should have watched before we started the series, but we just didn't. I don't know
Right.
why. And even the movie, I was like, this is pretty good. Like, it's not great, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is I'm watching it with him. I'm watching him. He loves it. I'm watching him really like it. And I also know that it's made for him. So I'm not going to like scare him by showing him a Rancor or watching Luke get his hand cut off. Like, he's not going to be traumatized by watching
Right.
this, and he can just watch safe for kids Star Wars and love it. And also, like, when I started watching it, I didn't know who Ahsoka Tano was. And so I was like, who is this annoying Padawan that is supposed to be some great character? Like, she's just kind of like,
Right.
I don't know. I don't love it. Now I'm going back to watching being like, ooh, that's Ahsoka Tano. This
Right.
is the beginning of her relationship with Anakin. Now I'm like more invested rewatching it. So I think that's part of it. But
Actually,
anyway,
I just realized I'm wearing
yeah,
a Ahsoka shirt.
wearing your Ahsoka shirt. Perfect.
Thanks,
But
man.
anyway,
Santa 2 Christmases
I just-
ago and Secret Santa.
That's right. Anyway, I'm pulling back on my hate of the first couple seasons of Clone Wars. So I mean,
yeah.
maybe when we get further into it,
there's
maybe I'll.
there's still plenty of stinker episodes, but they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
nearly as bad as, especially when you're watching with a kid. You can just
Yeah.
kind of
I haven't gotten to the Jar Jar episodes yet, so
yeah.
I'll,
Droids and Jar Jar are their own animals.
yeah, the droid ones. Oof, yeah.
Good old
Anyway.
Meeber Gascon.
Moving into comics, we mentioned this earlier. DC announced more Dawn of DC titles and teams. This was the basis of some of my predictions for the James Gunn universe. Titans, written by Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor is cleaning up at DC. He's written Superman, Son of Kal-El, which was great. Now he's continuing with that character with Adventures of Superman. He's writing Nightwing. He's been crushing on Nightwing for so long. And as I mentioned, Nightwing 100 introduced that the Titans are coming back. Tom Taylor is going to be writing the new Titan series with Nicola Scott, who is a great, great artist. She's referred to as the greatest Nightwing butt artist. So if you, as a DC reader, are a big fan of Dick Grayson's butt, like many DC readers are, you should be excited about this Titans run because Nicola Scott knows how to draw a Dick Grayson. This series will see the team taking over the Justice League as they are on hiatus, as I mentioned earlier, and that comes out May 16th. We got a new Green Lantern book starring Hal. I think they announced a Green Lantern, a John Stewart book a while ago for Dawn of DC, but this is Jeremy Adams and Zermianko. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Zermanico? The team behind Flashpoint Beyond. It's going to be about a story about Hal Jordan, who's quarantined by the Guardians of the Universe on Earth. Coming out May 9th. It's going to be a backup story that sets up the John Stewart book that was previously announced. Also got a new solo Cyborg book, which is cool. I can't imagine that DC Films is going to go with a Cyborg movie just because of the whole Ray Fisher thing and the character being so loyal and so outspokenly loyal to Zack Snyder and calling the executives of Warner Brothers racists and all that kind of stuff. Like, neither here nor there. Not saying who's right and who's wrong. I'm just saying that's a lot of controversy that I feel like they're going to try to steer away from.
Yep.
I feel like if they do, I don't think if they do a Titans movie, then Cyborg will be part of the Titans. I don't think Cyborg's going to be in the Justice League in their universe anytime soon. But anyway, Cyborg, writer on Cyborg series is Morgan Hampton, who applied and was accepted to the Milestone Initiative Talent Development Program, which is something that DC did a year ago or a little over a year and a half ago, where Milestone was their subsidiary branch of comics that has like Rocket and Icon and Static Shock. It was kind of like an apply to this talent development program, and this person did, and now they're writing Cyborg for DC Comics. Amazing. So that's Morgan Hampton writing and artist Tom Rainey. The Cyborg book is about Vic Stone returning to his home of Detroit to reconnect with his roots, only to discover a company there that is using the city to experiment with a dangerous artificial intelligence. That comes out May 16th as well. So May, we're going to get a bunch of Dawn of DC books, and that is cool. Another small comic story that I thought was super cool. We used to do a segment on the show called Kickstarter Call Out, and I think we've got to bring that back. I don't remember why we stopped doing it. I feel like we did
because we started
reason.
talking about the shakes. When you were launching your Kickstarter, I think that was the last time we really talked about it.
I think it was, but
Yeah.
I don't know why I think we did it a little bit after that. I'm not sure why we stopped, but we should start doing that again.
Oh,
for sure. I think 'cause that's cool to shout out indie creators. Maybe have a few on the show. But anyway, really cool story about Kickstarter. Apparently, in 2022, Kickstarter Comics broke their previous records for just amount of projects and amount of successful projects. In 2022, 2,805 projects, independent comic book projects were launched on Kickstarter in that year, and 2,205 of them were successful. That is a 78% success rate for independent comic book Kickstarters in 2022. A total dollar amount of just under $31 million was pledged to Kickstarter for comic book campaigns in 2022. That year was the 6th consecutive best year for comic books on Kickstarter. So for the previous 6 years, the success rate of Kickstarter independent comic books has increased every year with just under $31 million in 2022. So if anyone out there is trying to say that independent comic books or comic books in general are dying or going away. I believe that is not true because it just seems to be going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be hearing something about something maybe from me on Kickstarter sometime in 2023. We're starting to wait and see. I mean, you'll be waiting to see. I'm starting to work on that. Anyway, this week in your local comic book store, you got Avengers 65, Batman, Legends of Gotham, #1, Black Tape, #1, Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, new Blade spinoff series we talked about a few months ago, coming out. I guess it was going to be coming out in time for the movie, but that got delayed, so not anymore. Sometimes synergy doesn't work out as well as you think. Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, #9. Catwoman, #51. Children of the Black Sun, #2. DC Power, a celebration. It's their like a Black History Month celebration, #1. Firstborns, #2. Harley Quinn, Romances, #1. Immortal, Red Sonja, #10. Magic the Gathering, #23. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, #3. Moon Knight, #20. My Little Pony, #9. That's right, comic books are for everybody. Phoenix Files, #1. Purgatory Must Die, #2. Quick Stops, that's the Kevin Smith Clerk series, #4. Scarlet Witch, written by Camillus native Steve Orlando, #2. Star Trek, #4. Steve, I gotta ask you about this. Star Wars Sana Staros, #1. What's Sana Staros? Do you know anything about that?
That is Han Solo's wife.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the days before, in between Solo and A New Hope.
Interesting.
He somehow got married. I think as part of a deal to get out of something, and the Han Solo shenanigans ensue.
Sure. Makes sense. All right, so building out that character. Interesting. Venom, #16, Wakanda, #5, and Wonder Woman Historia, #3. Go check that out at your local comic book shop. If you are in our neck of the woods, you should check out Funky Town Comics and Vinyl for all your comic book needs. And speaking of Star Wars, they have so many Star Wars toys there right now. It's insane. So go check those things out.
That they do.
Just wild amount of stuff. Expensive and inexpensive. Just antique, vintage, and modern stuff. Just a wild amount. And I think that's all we got until one shots. Steve,
well, have you been reading anything this week?
Oh, reading anything? No. I mean, no, I read Nightwing 100.
Okay.
Which was great. Also made me emotional, I gotta say. No spoilers. A touching scene between Dick Grayson and his adopted father, Bruce Wayne, which I thought was wonderfully done. And no, I got a couple other things that I'm working on. I bought a Black Canary trade like a month or so ago. I started to crack that a little bit. Haven't gotten too far in it. And that's it. And I haven't really read anything this week, but I plan on doing some more reading this week.
Nice. Hit up Sins of Sinister, which...
Oh, yeah. How's that?
The way Mr. Sinister has been portrayed in the House of X, Powers of X, Krakoa Pantheon has been phenomenal. It's just Nathaniel Essex at his peak. This is this is setting it all up to burn it all down. But it's still very sinister-y, which is fun. Like it's just fun.
Great.
And then you'll be proud. I picked up and read Catwoman One Bad Day by G.
Nice.
Wilson.
I haven't read that one yet. I have it, but I haven't read it.
Very good.
Good.
Yeah. And then I picked up Bane. I haven't read that yet, but
Bane is good. Bane's really cool.
Yeah, these One Bad Days are just killing it.
I know. I don't think I've read one that was bad at all. Some of them are better than others, but they're all very good.
Right.
Did you read the Mr. Freeze one?
No, I didn't even know they dropped one.
Yeah, it was really interesting because it was like a new wrinkle on, you know how like Mr. Freeze was always just like a dumb ice villain until his origin was retconned in an episode of Batman the Animated Series, where it's like, oh, he's doing this because his wife is cryogenically frozen from a disease and he's trying to cure his wife. Like all of his crimes are trying to raise money so he can fund his research to save his wife's life. Like giving him this like tragic backstory, and he's like trapped in this like suit. Super cool. So this basically, the book took a spin on that and it's revealed. It's a spoiler, so don't listen. Fast forward a couple of seconds if you're going to read that book or whatever. But it is pointed out that he didn't ask for that wasn't like what she wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like basically, like she wanted to be let go. She didn't want to be,
head of DNR type thing, and
she didn't want to be kept on life support or anything like that.
Yep.
And he went against her wishes. So he's even doing this without her consent, which makes him more villainous,
right? Even
actually,
more,
like less sympathetic, but still a threat, which I thought was an interesting spin on that, like another wrinkle to that story, which I thought was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I did also pick up the second half of House of Slaughter. So
cool.
I had the floppies for 1 through 5, and then the trade just came out for 6 through 10. So,
Nice, cool.
Grab that.
I think I only read the first book, the first single issue of House of Slaughter. But I heard it was a little meh, but then I heard it got good. So I don't know.
That's kind of why I picked this up, because the first arc was okay. It wasn't great, and then I heard it got better. So I figured, what the hell, give it a shot.
The current Something is Killing Children is excellent. I mean, it's always been excellent, but it just continues to be excellent.
Nice. I got to catch up on that. I think I'm still in like 22 or 23. So.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You got to get there. It's really good.
Nice.
It's really good. I haven't read. I think 28 is out. I haven't read it yet, but I have that sitting on my pal, waiting to go.
Perfect.
It's cool, man. I gave you the first one shot. If you want to jump into
why
that.
Not? Amazon has announced big plans for Tomb Raider. Apparently, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is to write and executive produce a new Tomb Raider series for Amazon Prime. Waller-Bridge is also involved in the production of the new Tomb Raider film and game, but to what extent it is currently unknown. And apparently, Amazon wants to build this out into a Marvel-style universe.
Ooh, I
feel you had me until that last one.
The coffin.
Yep, you had me until the last one. There.
I feel like that just means it's not going to happen.
Yep.
It's not going to get. Anytime the studio claims that that's their goal, it just never works out.
And there's a big difference between the amount of content you have to work off of from Marvel and Tomb Raider.
I can't think of. Are there other characters in the Tomb Raider universe? I mean, there's got to be, but like,
couldn't tell you
recognizable ones, right?
I
Lara
don't think.
Croft, that's the one.
I don't think I've played a Tomb Raider game since the original PlayStation. So, yeah.
I mean, I saw the first movie, but I don't remember any other characters besides Lara Croft.
Right.
So good luck, Amazon, with a Marvel-style universe. Will we see this go the way of Universal's The Dark Universe, and however any number of other? We're gonna make a whole universe, and then they just can't make one even good movie, and it crumbles. Right. Like I feel like that's happened several times.
Sounds right. Although I do have high hopes for Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40K universe.
Sure. Yeah. I have high hopes for a lot of these things.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
who knows?
Cavill seems to have a decent track record at this point.
That's true. So does Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I mean,
Sure.
she's going to be in the Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. She's in that.
So are they just tying Tomb Raider into Indiana Jones? Because they're
I know, right?
Kinda...
Maybe they're just going to reveal that she is Lara Croft in Dial of Destiny, and then because I don't think this article said whether or not she's playing.
Disney. Yeah, your crossovers with Disney IPs. Here you go.
Exactly. There we go. Yeah. This article didn't say if she was playing Lara Croft or not, but I guess she could.
Yeah.
Who knows? Steve, gonna question your Star Wars knowledge.
Oh boy.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge has been in a Star Wars. Who did she play?
Oh, like someone in Last Jedi?
Nope.
Rise of Skywalker?
Nope.
Force Awakens?
Nope.
Where? Oh, shit.
She's not a human.
Droid?
Nor is she. Yep, she's a droid.
In not Resistance. Was it Resistance?
Nope.
Huh. Who?
Film. Feature film. She is L3 in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Okay. Yep. There we go.
I love that droid. That's people. Some people don't like L3, but I think she's great. Big fan.
I
She
think
does open the can of worms of, are droids sentient and should they be free, or are droids slaves? Like, that's
Yeah.
a blurry line in the Star Wars universe, and
Right.
she like runs right past it, runs right through it. I'm freeing you all. Like, oh, should we be feeling bad for all of these droids in
Right.
all of these movies now? Anyway, last one shot of the week, The Last of Us, a wonderful, terrifying, intense show on HBO Max based on the acclaimed video game, has already been renewed after 2 episodes, has been renewed for a season 2. Episode 3 aired tonight while we were recording this very podcast. So we haven't seen it, but the first 2 have been great. And not a surprise. It's like the second highest premiere.
Yeah.
It was just like the second highest premiere ever behind like a game like House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon,
like on HBO.
So I would say this is fully deserved. Having, do you want to just, vamp into a quick recap of what we've seen for Last of Us, or
sure.
what we're feeling?
Yeah. Sure. Because
I mean, it's been absolute must-watch TV for me both of these weeks.
Yeah. I was saying to my friend earlier today that I love how much it feels like the game and how much it looks like the game. Like, even not even in just what the characters are wearing, but like the color palettes of the environments that they're in, like the buildings, even like the green of the leaves and the colors of the cars they're walking by in the street. Like, this just looks exactly like the game in a way that feels natural still.
Yeah.
It's like there's sometimes you try to make a video game adaptation. They're like, oh, we're going to make this look exactly like the game. And you're like, that looks a little janky,
Why'd
like
you
a
do
video game and not like a real film that I want to be watching,
Yeah.
And I they're just doing such a good job. The second episode was just tense and scary and gave you a lot of information that we're going to need to know down the line about the zombies or the clickers or whatever. And like, we got to see a few of them and they looked terrifying and great and wow.
And that's the first episode. Sarah stole the show. This episode was 100% Anna Torv as Tess. Just
she was
walking
great.
away with it.
Yeah. Bella Ramsey as Ellie is excellent. They're starting to develop the relationship between her and Pedro Pascal as Joel, which is obviously key to the entire series. Has to work. Like, the two of them has to have great chemistry or else it's not going to work. But they seemingly do. And that's great. And I thought there was something else I was going to say. I don't know. They just do a really great job of like keeping it. I don't know. I don't remember what I was going to say. It's a great show.
Yeah,
you guys should be watching it if you like that kind of thing.
Even if you don't, I know we've tried to convince a couple of people to watch it that are like, it's not normally in their wheelhouse. So I know I'm trying to get my wife to hit it up as well, because it might be a little tense for what she's normally up for, but it's a well enough done show that I'm like, you probably want to see this. Yeah,
I agree. Speaking of Tess, the character of Tess, real quick, should be mentioned that the Annie Wershing, who voiced the character of Tess in the video game, recently died at the age of 45 from cancer. So rest in peace to Annie Wershing. I think that character was done justice by the actress that portrayed her in the series, for sure.
Yep.
And like, I remember that character, I mean, spoiler alert for episode 2 of Last of Us, I remember that character died, but I didn't remember when. Mm-hmm. So it still kind of came as a shock when she revealed that she had been bitten. I was like, ooh, it's happening right now. We're in there.
And that whole death was a little different than what happened in the game, but I think very well done.
Yeah, see, I played it so long ago that I don't really remember every detail, which I think is going to benefit me, because I'm not going to be like, that's not how they did it. Even though I don't normally care about that stuff anyway.
Right.
But.
Well, we've talked about it numerous times. Like, as comic readers, there's been so many different iterations of everything that you're just like, okay, that's how they felt like doing it. Cool. Let's roll that way.
Yeah, agreed. What was the other Last of Us thing I was going to say? I don't know if I remember, but it was great. And I'm looking forward to. Oh, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering when the season's going to end, because I might have said this on the last episode too, but I can't see them using up the entire game in the first season. You think you'd want to like milk it a little bit and at least get 2 seasons out of the first game. I feel like, and then you get 2 seasons out of the second game, and then you either go further or you spin off, or you can't, somewhere, or it's done, or whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, spin it off into Joel and Tommy right after the infection or something like that, or do whatever.
Something. Yeah, we get maybe flashbacks or something like that. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. And that's it for this week. I think I don't have anything else. And I don't know. You got anything else, Steve? Are we good to go?
No, I think that's it. If you're listening, feel free to like, subscribe, leave us a review. 5 stars and a review at Apple would be appreciated. Trick the algorithms into getting more people to listen.
Yes, please do.
Feel free to follow us on all these socials at The Multiverse Report, themultiversereport.com, themultiversereport@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of us. Beyond that, I think that's about it.
I think so. So tune in next week when we will be talking about James Gunn's announcement slate for the DCU and other things, I'm sure as well. But until then, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.
Okay. Let's see.